This video is to show you how to open up and disconnect your NuTone IM4006 Master Station so you can send it to me and have me repair it. You only really need two tools to do this. You need at least a Phillips screwdriver, and it's also handy to have a small plain screwdriver for the tight spots. To open up the faceplate, there are two mounting screws, one on the right and one on the left. Remove the screws with the Phillips screwdriver. And the faceplate will slide forward away from the wall slightly and tilt down. If your master station was installed correctly, it'll be supported at the top with this support strap. At the end of the support strap inside the wall housing, which is the metal box that's cut into your wall, there's a hook, and it'll be hooked through a hole in the wall housing. If you unhook it, it allows the set to fold down further. Now that your master station has been opened up, let's do a quick review of the different types of things you're going to be disconnecting so you can remove the set from the wall. On the right hand bottom corner here is the antenna connection. Moving left, you have the display transformer connections. There are two of them. Back inside the wall housing, you have the terminal board. And on the left hand side of the terminal board, there are a row of connections or cables that will be unplugged. Furthest on the left of the set is the Chime Module, and there'll be two wires to disconnect from that. The first thing to disconnect is the AM/FM antenna. This flat twin lead, sort of a milky translucent colored cable, is the AM/FM antenna, and it's plugged onto pins on the AM/FM tuner board. This connection is one of the easiest ones to disconnect. You simply follow the cable down to the tuner board and pull it off carefully, and it simply unplugs from the tuner board. The next thing to disconnect are the two cables that come from the vacuum tube display transformer. The transformer is normally mounted on a bracket up here at the top of the wall housing. You'll see these multicolored ribbon cables. This one's green, yellow, orange, red, and brown, and the second one is just brown and black. In the middle of these connections, there are two connectors, one wide, one narrow. On one side of each connector, there's a small tab, and if you push the tab down, it simply unplugs. That's the big one, and that's the little one. Now the display transformer is disconnected. These cables and the display transformer, which is at the top of the wall housing, can stay at your house. Mounted inside the wall housing, on the left hand side, is the terminal board. The terminal board is the board where cables from each of the remote speakers are connected. The wires from the front door entry speaker are connected. And different cables from the back of the 4006 Master Station are plugged into their own individual sockets. The nice thing about this design is that each cable and each connector on the end of the cable are different from all of the other ones. The idea of this was that it would be nearly impossible to plug a cable into the wrong socket. Starting at the top, we're going to unplug each cable one at a time. All you have to do is simply grab the wires between your thumb and forefinger, wiggle a little bit and pull, and the cable unplugs. That's the top one. Then we have the second one. And now we come to something kind of interesting. Here we have two individual wires. One of them is black, and it's spliced together with a green and white wire. and just next to it is a single black wire. On the terminal board, these connections are marked as earth. Earth is basically a ground connection. These are the audio and intercom ground connections for your intercom system. They have these little spongy covered connectors on them, and yes, these unplug also. Simply grab the connector and slide it off. There's the one with the green and white wire. And then pull the black one off. Set these aside, and now we'll continue on with the rest. Here we have a white connector and another brown connector. And all the way at the bottom, where it's a little hard to see, is a white connector with lots of little brown wires all wired tied together. When you unplug this, it's best to grab it right by the wire tie and simply pull it forward, and it'll pop right off. Now that we have the 5 cables and 2 ground wires disconnected, it's time to disconnect the Intercom Master from its low voltage power transformer. In a normal installation, the power transformer will be mounted in the lower left-hand corner of the wall housing. This is where your small flat screwdriver comes in handy. All you have to do is locate on the top of the transformer there are 2 screws, and under the screws will be a red wire and a white wire. All you have to do is loosen the screws and remove the wires. The last thing to disconnect is now the Chime Module. The Chime Module is mounted on this nylon bracket on the left-hand side of the master station, just above the speaker. The Chime Module will have this red cardboard insulator on it, and through a hole in the insulator is a mounting screw. You need a Phillips screwdriver. You remove the mounting screw, lift the Chime Module out of its bracket, and you'll see that there are wires connected to it. Just loosen the screw and remove the wire, and we'll remove the wire off the front terminal. These wires stay at your house. The Chime Module, you can either put it back in the bracket with the screw, or you can just lay it on top. You should always send the Chime Module to me with the Intercom Master so we can check it and rebuild it at the same time. On some installations, the transformer might be remotely mounted in another location in the house. I modified the mock-up to represent what that will look like. You'll have some type of 2-conductor cable coming into the master station from the remote location, and it will be connected to the red and white power wires that come from the back of the master station. These are the same red and white wires that we previously disconnected from the transformer in the wall housing. The red and white wires will be connected to the other cable with some form of connector. In this case, I've used small blue wire nuts because that would be the most common thing that you would see. To disconnect these, you unwind the blue wire nuts and separate the wires from the master station from the wires that come from the transformer. Since the wires that come from the transformer still have a small amount of electricity in them, you should put the caps back on them to protect the bare ends until you get your master station back. Now that we've disconnected all of the wires from the master station, the only thing that's keeping it connected to the wall are these 2 L-shaped brackets or hinges. They're attached at one end to the back of the faceplate, and the other end is held in place with screws that are screwed into the wall housing. The easiest way to remove this is to tilt the master station up slightly, slide it forward until the screws hit the corners of in the slots of the bracket, slide it slightly to the left so the screws line up with the larger holes, and lift it off. And there you have it. Your master station has now been disconnected and removed from the wall housing, and it's ready to be packed up and sent to me.